The stew. Coming to you live from the stew.
Try again. Just do it until you get it like a couple times.
Should I like cross my legs?
Yeah, you look like a fucking pro. Ah, fuck it.
Woo!
Woohoo!
That's not gonna work. All right.
What's good, y'all?
Everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Loading with Will and Finn, and we are excited to welcome our first female guest this week.
Woo!
Allison Gist is in the house, and we are back in studio, as you can tell. Had a great week last week with Hunter at his house, and we are excited to get rolling this week.
Yeah, awesome. So, we have known Allison since high school. She's been a longtime friend of ours, all-around great person and someone we admire. So we kind of thought it'd be fun to recap our lives since high school through college to now that we're on the brink of adulthood.
Now we're successful adults.
Yeah, well, semi-successful. Faking it.
Yeah, mildly.
Yeah, so it would be kind of cool to just rehash some of the funnier moments and kind of just, I guess, explore what it was like growing up here.
Similar to the Bible, we kind of have a funny origin story as far as our friendship goes.
Very funny.
We can break it down for you, but yeah, it was a rough night for Finn just to start.
Yeah.
But it was our senior year graduating night. We went to Loyola High School, and you went to Maricosta High School,
the public school,
a public school down in Manhattan Beach.
The freaking make-believe public school.
It's
a private public school.
It's very nice. It's very nice for those who haven't been there before. And it happened to be their prom night for some reason. And we crashed their prom after party at one of Allison's best friend's house, Penny.
Yes, it was a crazy night, I would say.
It was a crazy night.
Finn, I think the first time when I envisioned the first time I met you, I just remember you upside down on this the workout contraption.
It involved.
Do you remember when those workout spine stretchers were a big deal?
My grandma has one.
Yeah, like where you'd flip
upside down. What does that even do, by the way?
It stretches your back out.
It can be good for you.
I feel like it's horrible.
When you're
humans aren't bats. We're not meant to be in that natural space. Like, there's no way that's good.
When you are rather inebriated, and you should not be hanging upside down. Moral of the story.
Yeah, turns out blood to the head is not what you need. Right?
But we're gonna take it back to high school, and we all know that Allison had a very successul high school golf career, as you guys just saw with her immaculate balancing skills. The ball's behind the couch. But yeah, tell us how you got into golf.
Okay, well, I originally started playing golf when I was younger with my dad. He loved to play all the time, and we got to Palm Springs and play a lot. Mm-hmm. So that's how it really started. I remember playing when I was 10 years old, and then it kind of transitioned in high school. My college counselor was Rick Singer, the infamous Rick Singer college counselor scandal.
If you don't know who he is, Google his name. It'll
pop up.
He's going to prison.
He's going to prison.
He's serving some time right now.
Yeah, Lori Laughlin, Olivia Jade, all of them. So he would come to my house every other week, and it was like I was either a freshman or sophomore in college, and he's like, Allison,
high school.
In high school, sorry. And he's like, Allison, you need to play a sport.
How did you know? How did you know him?
So one of my dad's coworkers used to work with him in some capacity, and was like, this guy's money. Well, no wonder why. Now we know why.
Now we know why. You got to pay money and you get into school.
Forewarning, though, I never paid any money. I didn't do anything illegal or bad. I didn't lie. So I got into Berkeley on my own.
Yeah, all on her own, man. Allison's a smarty. She didn't need golf to get her in there.
Yeah.
Outstanding citizen, Allison.
I ended up quitting golf, so it didn't help me anyway. But I started golfing my freshman year of high school, and I was decent. But as time went on, I realized, the girls on the team were a little weird.
Ooh, golf girls.
Yeah.
The golf girls.
They weird?
And I was like, do I want to associate myself with them? They were really nice people, though.
Which is not your crowd.
It's not my crowd. It's not my crowd.
Dude, that's totally fair.
No problem.
That's all
totally fair. And I feel like part of being on a sports team is loving the people you're playing with.
You got to have that team camaraderie, and if you don't vibe, then you don't vibe.
I feel like especially in high school, it becomes your social circle a little bit. The people, especially starting out freshman year, you know what I mean? you kind of grow into that group and with them throughout the next 4 years.
And once you realize you don't need a fake roster spot to get into college, you can just get rid of that.
Exactly.
So I got a question about this Rick Singer cat.
Yeah,
Did you guys ever, like, were there rumblings around the neighborhood or, like, in communities, like, this guy's definitely hooking around for people, or was it just all very covert?
There was some signs looking back at it that I, like, when I was in the moment, I didn't realize.
Totally.
But then looking back, I'm like, that's a little weird.
Like what?
So,
what were the sketchy vibes?
Sketchy vibes, yeah. When I was filling out like the college applications, he wanted me to lie and say my mom just graduated high school, nothing more. And then so I'd be like a call, I'd be
like a first generation.
Yeah. And then also he wanted to say I was either Hispanic or Native American or something like that.
What?
And yeah. So he's like, you need to do this. Like, well, the way he approached it too was so he like really
very
tricked your mind.
Yeah.
Because he's like, Allison, I really wanted to go to Vanderbilt or Michigan. And at the time, like, Vanderbilt was my number one. And he's like, Allison, how badly do you want to get into Vanderbilt?
That's awful.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's such an unfair thing to put on.
It's hard to, like,
yeah.
Why would you test someone's, like, you know, morality as a senior in high school or a junior in high school like that? Because, you know, that's
the answer to that stuff. Really badly. Because all you can think at that age is the rest of my future hinges on this one action. You know? Yeah. And obviously as you get older you learn, like,
in reality it doesn't, but
a lot of things are gonna make up your future. And even now our futures are very much undecided.
Yeah.
Did you just do that?
I did.
Shout out to undecided future. Hey.
But even now our futures are undecided. But at that age, you're just like, if I don't go to this school, I'm screwed.
My life's over.
I mean? Or my life's over, you know? Or it's like I'm at a huge disadvantage. That's sneaky. That is really sneaky. So it's like,
kids. Obviously, like, I really want to go to Vanderbilt. He goes, if you want, you can get in 100% if you put it down that you're Hispanic. I'm like,
but I'm not.
But like, do they? Is there any fact checking that goes on?
So he made it clear. He goes, just so you know, it is illegal for them to ask you your ethnicity. So there's no way that they'll ever know.
Wow. So you can just straight up lie on your college app.
And I'm sure a lot of people do it, like, apart from Rick Singer.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So that happened. My parents, like, heard it. We were in the dining room and they were in the kitchen. They kind of overheard some things and walk in like, Allison, you're not doing that. Like, you don't, like...
We're not comfortable with you.
Like, you're not doing that. Like, you want to know you got into school because, like, you deserved it.
Totally.
And you, like, were good enough to get into it. And I was like, you're right. Didn't lie.
Right. So you did mention that those were your top three schools, Berkeley, Michigan, and Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Ultimately, it came down to Michigan and Berkeley?
Well, I got waitlisted at Michigan, and I got into Berkeley right away. Michigan was my number one. I remember I was literally going to be going on a flight to visit Michigan, and the wait list turned into a rejection, which I was like, what the heck?
No.
Yes.
Damn.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a bummer.
Well, that's crazy. While you were, like, boarding the plane?
No, I wasn't boarding. I was, like, literally about to leave my house. So we canceled the trip that second. I'm like, okay, screw it.
That's a bummer.
How did you feel during that moment?
I felt bummed, but the thing is, I just had, since I got into Berkeley already, I was like, I have that safety net. And then later...
At least you didn't find out on the trip.
That would suck.
Oh my god.
At least they spared you, you know, the shame of flying to Ann Arbor and doing the trip.
Yeah.
Wasting 2 days
like,
there.
loving the college. Rejects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Michigan.
Yeah, I know. I never got to visit you guys, but whatever. Time goes on.
So you'd gotten into Berkeley already?
Yeah, so I got into Berkeley.
And did you know people there? Like, how comfortable and familiar with that, like, going to Berkeley?
I didn't really know a lot of people at Berkeley. There was obviously some people from my high school that went that I wasn't super close to. So I reached out to them. They kind of showed me around campus. I, like, flew up for a weekend. And I was like, okay, I like it here. The campus is super pretty. Berkeley as a city is very interesting.
A little crunchy.
We're about to get into that. But my whole thing was, I was always nervous about going to an in-state school because I did not want to have high school all over again. That was like my number one thing was just getting a complete change of scenery. And for me, I didn't apply to a single school in California.
Yeah. Same as well.
Like the closest school to me that I applied to was Arizona, and you know that was a safety. But I was very much concerned with like getting a complete new change of scenery. I wanted to get out of LA, and then here I am back. But I kind of wanted to have my time away.
Yeah.
So did that ever cross your mind, wanting to get away, or like how did that? Did you ever feel like you were trapped by being in California and not going far enough, or do you think Berkeley was far enough?
Originally, like when I was applying to schools, I barely applied to any California schools too.
I was about to say, it sounds like the first two were like opposite side of the country.
Yeah, I wanted to leave because I knew I wanted, kind of like you, I wanted to come back afterwards. So I wanted to get that new experience. However, it just didn't really work out that way. So, and going up to Berkeley, honestly, it was a far enough distance where it's not like a quick drive away where I can be home.
Right. Your parents can't like surprise visit you.
Exactly.
That's kind of something that was like had to happen.
Yeah.
Far away for me to like definitely get the heads up.
Exactly. So it was far enough away, and a lot of people from my high school did go to Berkeley, and like a lot of Loyola guys did too.
True. We had like 30 plus kids. I think that was the school that most of our class went to. Like the highest proportion of our graduating class went to Berkeley and Santa Clara. So a lot of NorCal kids. Shout out to those guys.
Yeah. And then, but everyone I met there, like a lot of my friends, I didn't know any of them in high school or when I was younger at all. So it was all like a new experience to me.
Same exact thing. You know what I mean? You might as well be in another state. You know, it's like all of those people are the same. It's not the 14th grade or the 13th grade or whatever, you know?
All right, so you did mention it briefly, but Berkeley is definitely an interesting town. And for anybody watching this not from California, they definitely associate Berkeley with liberalism and being one of the most quirky liberal schools in the country. So we were wondering if you could attribute anything, like if there anything.
What's your crazy Berkeley moment?
Yeah, what was like your
the moment
first
we were like, oh, Berkeley.
moment we were like, wow, things are different here.
Yeah. Well, right off the bat, I think it was either my freshman or sophomore year, a huge riot went on campus. Where a lot of it weren't Berkeley students, a lot of it were like people from Oakland coming in and rioting. I think it was because some really conservative speaker was going to speak.
I remember that. Was that
Milo?
Milo,
yeah. So he was going to speak at on campus, like the Republican group brought him in, and it got protested a ton. Like first off by students, and then it just caused a huge scene. Like all of our student buildings were broken into, all of the glasses broken. A huge fire was set on campus.
What?
Oh my god!
Yes,
like a trash fire, bonfire?
Yes, like huge, like flames. Like
trash fire.
It was crazy. All the companies around, like the Starbucks and the Noahs, all around.
Did they like board up, kind of like LA recently?
Yes,
no,
it was exactly like that.
Wow.
And then like for the next week after that, like a lot of police were on campus just to watch.
Was that weird?
It was weird.
This is your freshman year, you said.
Yeah, and my mom.
So was that a little alarming? Were your parents like? What the hell is going on?
They're like, "Are you okay?" And I think at that moment, I wasn't. It was at night when this was all happening. I think it was at like a frat party or something. And my mom was like, "Are you okay? What's like the protest?" I'm like, "What protest?"
I'm having a blast, Mom. Don't worry about it.
But then I like saw it all.
There's a trash fire like a block away, but Allison doesn't care.
Yeah, but I mean that happened.
Talking about like just like speakers and stuff like that, I remember at Michigan, like it's probably the same semester, like sophomore year. For some reason, I don't know why, like a lot of Republican speakers, like very right wing speakers, were trying to get in on college campuses and spread their message. And a guy named Richard Spencer tried to come to Michigan, and he is like a neo-Nazi type dude, like about hardcore right wing as it gets, super racist guy, and they rejected him too. But I don't think there were any riots or anything. But that was just a really weird time, after Trump got elected. Just with the speakers.
Let me ask you, what was it like going to such a political school? Like, what was the dynamic of that like? Yeah,
I mean, it was a little bit hard to get used to because in high school I was not involved with politics. Like, that was the last thing on my mind. I don't even think, I mean, this is all bad, but like, I don't think I was even registered to vote when I turned 18. But I kind of take it as a positive. I've learned so much. I've become so much more invested in all these political issues, especially that are going on right now, and all these social issues. Like I care about them a lot more.
Well, that's good.
So you definitely think you like grew as a person by going to Berkeley in terms of like your political views.
Oh, fully. I think I grew as a person in general, just caring about other people and also understanding a lot of other people's, like, they're coming from different walks of life. It's so much diversity there where you really get to understand and empathize with a lot of people, which was so different from Manhattan Beach.
Maybe Finn, can you speak on maybe what it would be like? Because for you, I'm sure the experience is quite the opposite. Because Alabama, obviously, very red state.
Okay, so it isn't and isn't. It's a good question. We don't have the political activism that you'd find at a school like Berkeley. You know, for example, like the thing that Allison said that made me ask that question was the Republican group brought this guy on campus. It's like, Berkeley's a very liberal school, and they still have a strong enough bastion of conservatism and like people that care enough to like source speakers. You know what I mean? It's not really a thing in Alabama. I think we had Ben Shapiro show up once my senior year, and I just thought that was kind of funny. Like, I was just like, this guy's just kind of a lot to deal with. So I mean, going to school there, however, one big thing for me was coming from LA to Alabama, was definitely a very big change. I mean, LA is obviously one of the more liberal cities in America, and then you have Alabama, who is very, very red. But you know, I didn't share a lot of the same political views as my, friends and pledge brothers and all that, but to a degree that was kind of nice, because it kind of would show that like you could still find common ground with people and still have really close relationships with people and like have best friends that don't view the exact same things you do. Principally, they do, you know what I mean? They believe in equality and, all of the really big ticket issues where it's like, are you like, in my opinion, it's like, in order to be a good person, you have to kind of view these things, I wouldn't want to get close to anyone that didn't view that way. But I mean, on other things like, taxes and, like, maybe they're a lot more religious than anyone I grew up with, I don't know, it was kind of nice to, like, meet people that weren't, like, people I'd ever met before, but I could still get along with, So, it was definitely different, but I think, like Allison, like, I'm grateful for the experience having met a lot of different people, and I think at the end of the day, it just makes you a more dynamic individual to be dealing with diverse, like, ideologies and diverse people.
Right. I feel like a big part of college is being exposed to a bunch of views that you've never heard before, and a lot of them are valid. So you're like, okay, now you have to call into question everything that you've been taught, or maybe that's been ingrained in your head from your upbringing from before, and it's just a big step forward in your personal growth.
And to that degree, I actually probably became a lot more liberal in college, despite going to a really red school, because it made me so much more like, you grow up and you know things because your parents believe them or because your friends believe them. And then all of a sudden in college, it's your first real opportunity to get to make up your own mind and go, okay, this is why I believe that. And I don't know, just going to Alabama, I saw a lot of things and like just kind of like was like, no, I'm positive that I agree with what I thought in high school. Or maybe I changed, where I was like, if anything, I was probably a little more conservative in high school, where I was just like, I didn't really understand a lot of the world, and I didn't understand a lot of the things that were happening on the other side of the country, especially racial issues, where I was like, dude, this is awful, Right. So it's just like, it for me, it kind of, it made me double down and really think hard about the things I really care about.
All right, so we are going to pivot away from that topic and talk about something a little more lighthearted. Allison recently hosted us at her beautiful house out in Palm Springs, and for those who don't know, a big part about Palm Springs is that they host the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival every year in April.
In Indio, down the road.
So we're about to break down some of our favorite Coachella stories because we've all been there a couple times. So as Coachella veterans, we are going to ask Allison some of her favorite Coachella memories.
Also, she's a very, very big Coachella veteran. When was the first Coachella you went to?
My sophomore year of high school.
And when was the first Coachella your brother went to?
8th grade.
We
called him Coachella Alex because all the middle schoolers
Coachella Alex.
Coachella Alex, like it's just crazy that he went to Coachella.
Did he wear his wristbands back?
Yeah, of course.
In high school, I wore my wristbands.
Yeah.
Alright, so those who don't know, you get these general admissions, wristbands to scan you into the music festival, and people wear them for literally the next 6 months.
You see some people that have never taken them off and have like 10 of them on.
Yeah.
It's like I equate them to when you go to like a water park or Hawaii and you get a wristband.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're waiting for the whole week. You're like, sick, you went to Hawaii.
I went to Hawaii, no big deal. Yeah, it's totally your brag.
Super funny thing from our high school that our dean of men is like the disciplinarian at our high school. And we went to an all-guys high school, right? And over Coachella weekend, he would always come on the PA like on Thursday saying like, oh, like, I'm sure you guys are all going to come down with the Coachella virus this weekend, like taking Friday off, Coachella flu, Coachella virus. Funny joke that he would drop every year.
Nothing you could do about it, though. We all did.
So
we all did, and we didn't show up.
Yeah.
Let's hear some of your good Coachella stories.
Okay, well, starting off when I was younger, I know the first year I went with my parents, so it wasn't that crazy or exciting, but we did end up sneaking in to Coachella.
That's badass.
Yeah, so there was a couple of my friends from high school there was 2 of them who had tickets and 2 who didn't. So there's 4 tickets in total and 6 of us. We were like, okay, we can sneak in. We'll just slip off, 4 of us go in, slip off 2 wristbands, walk it out,
Throw
put
it
it back
over
on.
the fence, or?
No, because the 2 of us that had the wristbands on had 2 in our pockets.
Oh.
Walk out. I don't know if it still works to this day, but someone should try it out.
Sounds good enough.
Yeah, so you walk out, you give it to the people that are waiting, and then you walk in. Once you're in the festival, they don't check if you have a wristband.
No, totally.
So it works.
So theoretically, they use this technology where you cinch the band up, and then for some reason you can't loosen it at all, right?
Yeah.
So for girls, it's way easier because they got smaller wrists to slip it right off. But for me, similarly, my first Coachella, also sophomore year, I went with my uncle and my dad, and my uncle just puts the wristband on me and just cinches it as tight as it can possibly get on my wrist. And my hand was literally purple for the weekend. I could not take it off. And he's like, dude, just deal with it. And I was just like, oh my
I'm having
God.
so much fun.
Yeah, I'm like,
what's wrong with your hands?
I'm losing blood actively.
That's awesome.
God.
I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen if they catch you doing that?
Oh,
I guess they take away your passes and stuff.
There's Coachella jail.
Oh,
So-
we know about Coachella. No, let me.
Hey, I haven't been to Coachella jail.
No one here has been to Coachella. We did know a kid.
One of
that
my
went to
friends
Coachella jail.
has.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. Kids get locked up.
So let's talk about Coachella jail for a sec.
Yeah, I'm not going to name her because I haven't asked for her permission, but she was in high school. She was 17 years old, and I think she was just trying to sneak in alcohol or something stupid.
Sure.
She got through, she was going through the security, got caught. They asked for how old she was. She's 17. They lock her up in Coachella jail.
That's so surprising to me. Why wouldn't you just take it and kick them out?
I know, and I feel like that's what it must have been just a really strict security.
That happened to me. So
Did that happen to you too?
Yeah, it happened to Finn and I. So for context, I don't think Finn remembers this, but for context, our junior year of high school, Finn got me a summer job working construction for his dad.
Yeah.
Right? And we had a great summer working construction. And knowing that he had set me up in April, my birthday is April 21st, and it was pretty nice, a kind of an ongoing birthday present in high school where Coachella passes for me and a friend. So I invited Finn my junior year and do the classic, step on a big water bottle, fill it up, tuck it in your waistband, and you're chilling, right? You're gonna have a great day buying lemonades and
mixers,
getting dehydrated in the Coachella Valley, which I'll talk about later because that ended up being a huge problem for me.
Oh no!
But I totally got caught, and the guy didn't care. He just threw it in the trash, and on I went. But
that's
nice. That was so nonchalant that didn't even register with me.
Coachella jail for me. Finn doesn't even remember it.
See, you kind of remember the big bad things that happened that weekend. We had one friend that got caught with alcohol that weekend, and he got thrown in Coachella jail.
That was Stagecoach. But
Stagecoach jail, same
difference.
thing, same.
Yeah.
And I remember that one.
Moral
But you
of the
kind of
story-
only remember the things that you have to deal with.
The moral of the story is it's not wise to try and use a fake ID at Coachella because the guys who read the IDs are literally cops. And and inside the venue, once you get in there, if you happen to get a wristband, they're littered with undercover cops that ended up getting a couple of our friends a couple weekends later at Stagecoach.
But odds are, if you're listening to this, you probably don't need to be worried about that. You're probably underage.
Hopefully everybody, maybe not. We got some high schoolers listening.
That's true.
But it was kind of funny, the hijinks of high school and Coachella. Because Coachella, I remember for me, was very much a coming of age. It was my parents were like, yes, you can go to Coachella. Please don't do anything stupid. Please don't get in trouble. Be safe. You know what I mean? My parents were letting me and a friend go off somewhere that was a music festival that had reputations of people having fun. You know what I mean? So I remember it was a big deal when I went. I think it was the same year my sister went. My sister was so upset that I was going younger than her.
She was going for the first time.
Because she had to wait so long for it. You know what I mean? She's like, this is BS. I can't believe you're letting Finn go. So it's like very much a coming of age in LA if you're into that kind of thing, like getting to go and do that thing.
We also got pulled over on the freeway on the way to Coachella with a bunch of booze in my car and almost got in really big trouble.
And this is also like when Will had his like, so after you get your driver's license, you're not supposed to drive anyone for 6 months.
It's only in California.
Only in California.
Like
yeah.
You get your driver's license, and for 6 months, you're only supposed to drive yourself, not anybody else. Whether or not that's a good idea, I don't know. We can debate that later. But either way, so to be fair, though, we were driving up a lot of booze and a lot of groceries and stuff for your dad and your uncle that we were staying at their place in Palm Springs. Right. Either way, this cop was not a friendly guy.
Not friendly. Come on, dude. We're just trying to get to Coachella, man. Like, that's not cool.
Don't think he had any sympathy. For
that.
He had zero patience for me.
But it was cool. So what's your Coachella moment, Will?
Just in terms of, like, good memories, I can talk about the bad memory first, because since we talked about, like, dehydration, we were at a show, a Flosstradamus show. My cousin and I was a sophomore in high school, and we were in the mosh pit, and I had not had any water all day long, and that is a big mistake. Big
It's
mistake.
hot out there, folks.
It is. It's like 100 plus degrees, and you are like, you're not invincible. I learned my lesson.
It's 100 plus degrees, and you're in a tent that looks massive, but there's thousands of people in this tent, and
touching people constantly.
Just like, it is so warm in there. It
also,
is so
like,
hot. You leave and you're sweating. Even if you're not dancing, you're just sweating. Like,
you could drink a bottle of water. I remember I drank it in like 5 seconds. Yeah. And then I would never have to pee the whole day because I was sweating out.
Yeah, exactly.
All of the liquid in my body.
So basically, I had to, like, I was like actively passing out as I was walking out of the of the show, and my dad had to come scoop me and like fan me out. So that was rough.
Brutal.
But in terms of good memories, probably when I fell in love with Tame Impala, Finn and I went and saw Tame Impala.
You just jacked my good memory. That was my exact same memory.
I'm sorry. Well, I can remind you of another great moment. We were at a super random concert, something called some church. Some church was in the name of it. No, not churches. It was like a metal band that for some reason we were seeing. And Finn somehow
we kind of wandered around. Like, not even good stuff.
We were wandering around. It was in between sets. Okay, like there was no good music going on at the time. So we're just waiting for the next show. This one show is about to end. And Finn, for some reason, we just really think it'd be cool if we can get him to crowd surf amongst all these.
This wasn't churches. This was Bad Religion.
Bad Religion,
which, by the way, is a kick-ass metal band.
All right, I did not mean to disrespect. Famous. I did not mean to disrespect Bad Religion. I just didn't remember. I knew it had something to do with religion.
Yeah, Bad Religion.
So Finn literally crowd surfs like hundreds and hundreds of yards around.
To the point, like, we started at the back, and I crowd surfed all the way to the front over the barrier.
Over the barrier.
And then you have to
VIP.
To VIP, over VIP, to the barrier. And then, I mean, so many people are doing it, they like, you're not getting in trouble for this at all. They just usher you to the back and you gotta go back around.
And, well, I was stranded for like 30 minutes by myself at this random concert. But, you don't even remember this, he, like, his wallet fell out of his pocket at some point. When he was being crowd, no, it just fell out of his pocket. And thank God there was this dude that was like 6'7" and just was holding his wallet up like in the middle of nowhere. It was in the crowd.
The biggest show of faith ever. Like it was the most impossible thing for me to get.
Our faith in humanity was restored when that guy returned Finn's wallet. It was a great story.
That was an awesome moment. That was really fun.
I know my friend Sarah. She would always crowd surf in any Coachella, like whatever, whoever was performing. She would like just get up there and be like, it's a great way to go to the front.
Yeah, totally.
Also, another great way to get to the front is when a mosh pit is about to happen. I know this is kind of lame, but everyone steps out and you just book it right through and you cut so many people.
Boom. You make it like 25 yards up.
2 things I want to address with what you just said. Crowd surfing super fun, but every once in a while you'll be crowd surfing and you will reach a gap of people. And you will just, they don't see it.
He got dropped.
Throw you into a gap. And it's just all like 10-foot drop. Like,
yeah, his back was hurting.
It is everyone's wingspan plus their height. It's a tough fall. That And the Coachella mosh pits are a dangerous place.
Very dangerous.
So dangerous.
Especially at a concert like Bad Religion, people are going to be throwing punches. They don't give a shit what happens to you.
It was heavy.
So that's the number one rule of a mosh pit: never fall down, because you will get like brutally kicked in the ribs and shit like that.
And stepped on and stuff. Yeah, gotta watch.
Luckily, nothing like that ever happened. But I've seen it, and it's not fun to watch.
Yeah. All right. So my Coachella moment. I think is what Will was going to touch upon earlier. So this was back when Tame Impala, 2015? No, 2014.
Yeah, 2015.
2015, 2014, something like that. And this is like Tame Impala, Kevin Parker had taken this big break. And I had listened to a little bit of their music, but not a whole lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was like, Coachella lineup, it was like one of the big things was like, oh, Tame Impala's coming back. It was like one of their comeback shows.
Right.
And Will and I watched it, and that was definitely when I fell in love with Tame Impala. And it's, to this day, been one of my favorite bands.
For reference, Tame Impala is definitely my favorite band.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like,
that was a life-changing moment for us.
Kevin Parker is a musical genius, and that was really cool. It was it's full of great music that weekend. We had Cashmere Cat, which was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Bad Religion, AC/DC, just like kind of
absolutely killed it.
Weird, quirky stuff like that. But Tame Impala was.
I really like so how in terms of What's Up Doc, maybe I can just say it now, but there's a really cool documentary on Coachella called 20 Years in the Desert.
That one's really cool.
That is definitely worth watching. It's only an hour long. It's on YouTube. It's free. That's my What's Up Doc, by the way. And they kind of document like how they construct their lineups, and I've always found it really interesting because they always have a really big rap artist and like an artist for like kind of an older crowd, like Guns N' Roses, AC/DC. Trying to think of some other ones like LCD Sound System, like a bunch of
Rage
stuff.
Against the Machine.
Rage Against the Machine was supposed to be this year, and then Frank Ocean and Travis. So
I
just really think it's cool how they like diversify, like they have headliners for a diverse crowd, which I really like.
That is really cool, and that's a fun thing is you'll see people of all ages there. Obviously, a lot of kids flock to it, and I think in more recent years it's become like
getting younger and
a huge scene for people. I mean, even at Alabama, there was kids that never been to LA and they flew out to Coachella because it's one of those things.
Well, people fly from all over, like other countries.
Yes, right. It's one, the lineups are incredible, but it's also they do such a good job of curating this experience.
Right.
The floating astronauts. They've always got these art pieces that are
amazing,
huge. They're gigantic and they're beautiful, and they're like kind of very creative.
I've always wanted to ask you this in terms of transitioning, kind of quasi politics. When you have a house in Palm Springs, there are hundreds. Everybody you know is trying to crash, right? So how do you manage that in terms of saying yes to some people and saying no to some people?
Well, I've learned the hard way because I feel like I like to
You're
just
too
say
nice.
yes. Yeah. I'm too nice. I like to say yes to everyone. I think
not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
Through the years that I just gotta say no to the people I don't want at my house.
Right.
But in high school, it'd just be like our small friend group. In college, once wind got around that I had a house out there.
College is like got to be even more brutal.
Oh, it was rough.
Especially when you go to college, like driving distance from the festival, so like costs are way down. Yeah, everyone's going.
Yeah, I know my first year, the freshman year of college, my parents were allowing me to go like by myself, just with my friends. They were going to be out of the country, so I knew. They couldn't even drive out there. The stakes were high.
High stakes poker. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I'm like, I knew they weren't going to be able to fly back and yell at me or kick anyone out. So I was like, Mom and Dad, just like 6 of my girlfriends are going to be out there. It'll be fun. It'll be like a wholesome, fun weekend.
What was the real head count that weekend?
I think it was like 15 or 20.
That's not terrible.
And there's a couple guys. But then the issue was, at night, randoms would come back.
No.
That's tough.
It got bad where I had to kick people out. I don't know why I had to. I think there was drama with someone in the house and then someone that walked in. So I had to go out. I had to wake up and be like, you can't sleep here. And they're like, we don't have a key to our hotel, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you can't sleep here. You need to leave.
Not my problem.
And I think they just slept in a car outside my house. But I'm like, it's whatever.
It's not your problem.
That's not your problem. Yeah.
But after that, I feel I've been a little bit more strict. Because that was it ended up being a shit show that weekend. Because it was also some of my high school friends and then my college friends on top of that. So it was a lot to handle.
And I'm sure that kind of detracts from your
Are we gonna make the guest list next year? Or
you guys will. Well, we'll all be out here now.
I know, that's kind of the fun part.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
If it happens in April.
This
is your official invite.
Hey, we made it.
You guys heard it here first.
Yeah, we're going to hold you to it.
Oh, geez. Fingers crossed it happens in April. That's kind of a huge up in the air thing. I saw this is a
So what are they going to keep the same lineup? Or
I don't think so.
No. Because you got to think, those artists have tons of other obligations as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right, but all of those obligations have been canceled as well. So it's like,
I know, so it's like they're going to probably choose the ones that pay them highest. So it's like...
You don't think Coachella pays fat?
I think it pays fat.
Dude, the headliners make many millions of dollars each.
Yeah, I know, but you also have like Bonnaroo, Lollapalooza, other really good stuff. I don't know when they're planning on doing it, but I'm sure it's going to be kind of all in a very similar time frame.
Yeah. Well, I know Outside Lands...
I don't know if it's going to happen in that April, that second April, you know?
Yeah. Well, Outside Lands canceled, and they put out a new lineup for 2020.
Tame's headlining.
Yeah, Tame Impala's headlining, but it's totally different than...
Outside, I've always wanted to go to Outside.
Outside Lands is phenomenal.
Is it cool?
Oh my god.
Is it underneath the Golden Gate Bridge?
No.
No. Golden Gate Park, big myth. Golden Gate Park is not close to Golden Gate Bridge.
Well, the water is underneath the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
I didn't
it's
know
a bridge,
it was like
bro.
a little bridge. I didn't know if it was a little
Believe it or not, the Golden Gate Bridge is actually a bridge.
Is it a bridge?
Yeah.
Does it go over things?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I always forget that.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah, I've always
you're in like the forest. It's amazing. Cool.
Okay, I actually have a hilarious story about Outside Lands. So, my my godmother is a very awesome lady, and wears many hats. On top of being an interior designer, she also
makes hats.
She wears many hats.
Oh, okay.
I don't think she makes them, but
she might though.
She's an interior designer for some high-profile artists that we are big fans of, but we can't disclose. And also, she was a part owner in a cookie business that was a regular vendor at Outside Lands. So I got a really cool deal where I got 2 of my friends from Michigan to fly out, and we basically worked 4 hours a day, each day, from like 9 a.m. to noon. So before any of the real concerts even started,
so nice.
And Allison and I met up in the afternoon, and basically got a free pass. So
that's awesome.
Basically worked at this cookie store for
nice.
3, and realistically it was probably like 2 hours because we showed up late or left early every day. And one of my friends just didn't even show up the last day. I was like kind of embarrassed about it, but finagled a way to get a free pass to Outside Lands by working for a vendor. Smoothest move ever. I'm gonna try and do that at most festivals if I have no money.
I was trying to do Coachella.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder. Outside Lands is so easy. Even if you don't have a vendor, you just sign up to volunteer. Like I know my friend volunteered at like the mini golf place there for like a couple hours. And
the hours are The hours are super minimal because people in San Francisco are so cool, bro. Everybody I showed up there super late, and they're like, "Oh, thanks for showing up. Like, we didn't even expect you to show up." Like,
you're like, really? Okay,
I literally could have just picked up my pass and never.
That's
never
bad precedence because I'm like, oh, chill out.
Wow, you don't want to do it like that.
No, you can't do your aunt like that, or godmother.
Mm-hmm.
Godmother. Well, that's pretty cool. Nice little hack out there for anyone looking to go to festivals on a budget.
All right, so we are going to transition away from music festivals and do something somewhat similar. But we're going to talk about studying abroad. And for me, this is something that I've always wanted to do because I watched my only 2 older cousins, both went to Spain and had like the best time of their lives. Wouldn't stop talking about it as I haven't either. I'm going to apologize for anybody who didn't go abroad because the next probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes are going to be pretty cringe for you. You might as well just skip forward because
it's about to be super obnoxious.
You know, we all know you're just jealous, so it's okay. So we want to ask you, Allison, what cities were you considering? Why did you want to go abroad originally, and maybe what was the situation like for you?
Similar to you, I've always known I've wanted to go abroad. Any older person I talk to, and I ask them what's your biggest regret that you didn't do in college? It's so always abroad, always. 100%.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I need to do it. Barcelona was honestly my number one since I was younger. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go there. I was potentially thinking Florence just because a lot of my girlfriends were going there that I from Berkeley. Mm-hmm. But I was like, you know what? I need to stick with Barcelona. I've been wanting to go there all my life, and it was the best decision I've ever made.
Product placement, by the way. Viva Barca right there.
Woo!
All right, and Finn, talk about what brought you to where you went.
So I, like these guys, had known that I wanted to go abroad, but every college student flirts with the idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not until you actually have to make the decision of losing a semester, and you're like,
right.
man, do I
You
want to lose
have
a
to come
semester
to
in
terms.
school?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
but my sister before me had wanted to do it, but I don't think she could with credits because she got an accelerated master's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So she got a master's in 4 years basically, and she couldn't make it work with the credits. And she was always like, I just heard her always say, like, you know, I just wish I could have gone abroad. I just would. And she had this incredible, rewarding college career, but it's like always like, I wish I'd gone abroad, you know?
Mm.
So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, like I was thinking about it. It's like, I've done the fraternity thing. I've done, you know, our spring parties. I've done football seasons.
Right.
I knew I definitely didn't want to miss a football season just because
Right.
they're so special at Alabama. But I was like, I could miss a spring full of parties. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So then I was thinking, where do I want to go? My family is super Scottish. My mom's maiden name is MacDonald. My dad got married in a kilt. You know, like, we are super Scottish.
Is that your plan, by the way?
No.
I would love to see that.
That would be
though.
so funny.
I kind of want you to.
I
Dude,
throw
just
like a
shred the bagpipes and
Yes.
just wear a kilt.
I'd throw a rehearsal dinner in the kilt for
Okay.
sure. The kilt will make an appearance during.
Hey, you
Good.
heard it
I
here
love
first,
that.
Claire. It's going down in the kilt.
Yeah, I mean, like, hey, the kilt's a special thing. So I'll actually touch upon that a little later too. So, my family's super Scottish. My grandma's like a first generation American, and like, she is obsessed with Scots. Like, she literally, like, every good thing about her family, she claims to like Scottish gene pool. Like, she thinks it's like an elite thing to be Scottish. Like,
Yeah.
she loves it. Like, so proud of it. So I was always like, that'd be really cool. And I don't think she just went back. So she grew up Scottish, but like her family was always poor. I mean, like, it was one of those deals where it's like, the kids made it out here first, and then the parents followed. Like, they kind of just kept saving up money to get people to America. So it was never like, oh, we're gonna go back to Scotland and visit. So, you know, she had never been, and she had just gone, and it was just like such a special thing to her. And I was like, you know, that'd be a really cool thing to like kind of get in touch with my heritage like that. That, and I didn't want to go anywhere where other people were going. Just because I knew it would be easy enough. Like, a huge goal of mine personally was to do a ton of traveling while I was there. So I knew that I wanted to get out and about, and I knew I probably wouldn't make it to the United Kingdom. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's the one that's most like America, and it's kind of apart from the rest of.
That's definitely the place I was least wanting to go to.
Exactly. So I was like, you know what? Like, that's the one place I won't be able to make it to. So I like had Glasgow, Scotland as my University of Glasgow. That, and they had a killer business school too.
Cool.
So.
And you were able to transfer credits to your business degree?
Had some incredible professors there. It's the Adam Smith School of Business. Because he went there. Because
really?
No way.
Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing. The school is stunning. I wish I could show pictures. The buildings I was studying in were from like the 1500s.
Like castles out of movies.
They were castles. They filmed Harry Potter there.
Oh, you're kidding.
So
really?
Yes.
Wow.
So it's
fun fact: the Law Quad at Michigan is the only site that they considered for Hogwarts in the United States. They say that on Michigan tours.
That's very cool.
I don't know if that's Fugazi or not, but they say it.
I used to give tours, and we said some Fugazi stuff like that.
Maybe everybody said.
We were a little like liberal with like what we'd like
just to mess
a credit to ourselves.
Right.
We could have filmed Harry Potter here.
Yeah. In this on this red brick campus. Yeah.
But it was beautiful. It just kind of blew me away.
Yeah, for me, I was very lucky. When I was anybody who knows my past knows that I was lucky to live in Italy when I was in 8th grade. My dad took a sabbatical year off, and our family moved to Florence. And through our like kind of education, and we were homeschooled, so we had a very lax schedule and did a lot of traveling. And my parents specifically didn't want to go to Spain, because they figured that down the line I would want to go abroad there, and eventually that became the case. Because, like Allison, I also studied in Barcelona, and maybe we can delve into a little bit more about our experience there, because in terms of the experience, I think it's probably my favorite. Like, cannot talk down on Michigan at all, but I can't deny that was definitely the best semester of college for me.
Oh, I could have stayed for another year.
Right. Like I actually heard of people that were studying abroad for a year, and I was like, wow, that's kind of bold. Like studying abroad for a year. And after the semester was over, like in the closing weeks, I was like, shit, I really wish I had some more time here. You know, because you always feel like there's more stuff that you can do in exploring a city like that.
That semester flies by too.
Absolutely
fastest
flies by.
semester of college, for sure.
So we wanted to ask you, Allison, what were some of your favorite memories, maybe of Barcelona, and then some of your favorite trips that you went on?
Barcelona, I mean, I'm a huge foodie, so just trying out a bunch of different restaurants was amazing. And we found our favorites, like apart from the typical, you know, the ones that you talk about, like De Greco and all those.
Right.
Like,
the one that
Instagram.
Beyonce loves,
Yeah, like apart from those, you try out these like smaller places, just exploring. I love that. Also, I know this is overhyped or like talked about a lot, but Bodebeest sandwiches.
I was about to say that. Oh my god, Bodebeest was so dank.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Coolest thing about Bodebeest too is they put all this stuff on it, and I remember watching them make it, and I was like,
that doesn't look good. It's like all the like Greek. It's like all the Greek ingredients, like olives and red cabbage, and like
they put on like 15 different veggies on this thing.
You're like that does. You're like, and there's like a little bit of meat on it. You're like, I don't know if that's really gonna taste that good. And then you bring it out to the beach. You lay out this. I bought this tapestry in Barcelona. Had to bring it back.
I'm one of the beach guys.
Yeah. Well, they have a huge tourist spread of a bunch of like fake shit you can buy, like a bunch of fake shoes, fake hats, fake soccer jerseys. That's a real one though, and fake tapestries. But I was a sucker for this one because it looked really cool.
What's a real tapestry?
It's like actually like high thread count.
That's real enough for me.
Yeah, I'm sure the real ones are way nicer and not like $1. So besides the food, what else did you love most about being in Barcelona?
Just like walking the streets. We have some funny memories going out. It's so different from Berkeley. Like Alabama is a huge party school. Michigan, I feel like, is a pretty good decent party school. Berkeley, like I've had fun at Berkeley. We have fun, but it's just like not a huge party school.
Yeah.
So going to Barcelona with all these clubs and every Monday and Wednesday would be like the nights to go out, which is just super. It's so like random.
The only off nights in Michigan are like the biggest nights in Spain, which is really weird because essentially everybody travels on the weekend. So the only nights to really party are during the week in Barcelona when everybody's there studying. And honestly, we both went to a third party program named CEA it's called like Cultural Center for Education Abroad, I think it's called.
Sure.
Whatever the acronym means. Also, like in terms of, for me, like the out-of-state tuition at Michigan versus going third party abroad, I saved $10,000 by going to Spain. So it was like an absolute no-brainer.
And they give you housing.
Yeah, like the housing situation I can talk about a little bit later. But
Barcelona.
Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there. But in terms of so things that we noticed, things that were crazy that happened in Spain while we were there. So we have the Catalan Revolution is still happening right now, and actually really crazy because for people that
going on for like ever though.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that's wild is that Catalonia was a thing before Spain was a thing. So everybody that lives in Barcelona and in the Catalonia area all like attribute their nationality to Catalonia and more than they do Spain.
Well, I also remember like reading in history class in high school that like they experienced the scientific revolution before the rest of Spain by like a very good bit. Like their education was so much higher. They were actually like practicing and using like scientific method and math and stuff like that. So like for a long time, like they've actually like, and their government was very different. So like they've got a lot of reasons to view themselves as like a different.
So, but in terms of like what that meant for like us living there is that there was actually like riots and protests going on like on the reg, like right by where we went to school was in like one of the main squares called the Plaza Catalonia. And there were marches going on right by our building all the time. Yeah,
and there's also while that was going on was a taxi strike. The Uber was on like all over the town, and taxis were going on strike. So there was no way except for the metro and walking to get around town.
In terms of a strike, just so you understand, like, that means there were thousands and thousands of cabs just parked on the major streets so that, like, no one can drive anywhere. So, like,
Europeans love striking.
They're all about it, bro.
They love striking. They're just like, nope, we're not doing it. Like,
that's like the way to get shit done. So, so basically, you can't take any Ubers, you can't take any cabs, right? So it's walking only or metro. And in terms of going out, that means you have to walk home because the metro ends at like midnight. And I guess in terms of context, like, it's really weird. They go out at night so late. Like,
you guys go out at like midnight.
Yeah.
No, not
like
even that.
Pre-game at midnight.
Like, you don't step into the club until at least 2 p.m. or 2 a.m.
Yeah. I remember going out with you guys and we got back at like 6:30. 7.
Yeah.
That's quite a regular thing. And then, you know, shout out to whoever did it, but a lot of people had 8 a.m.s, and that sounded like an absolute grind.
A lot of people didn't go at 8 a.m.s.
Yeah, well, you have to. The thing with CA is you could only miss 2 classes, or else your grade will lower. I signed up for an 8 a.m. class, and the first day I overslept, did not make it.
Yeah, you didn't go to class.
I didn't go to class, and like, I guess my one of my roommates was trying to wake me up. They're like, Allison, and my bed was like on my door, so they couldn't open the door. So like, oh, whatever, she overslept. And I immediately after that, I'm like, this is not going to work.
Right, and using one of your skips like that early in the semester is an absolute nightmare because you need to start planning trips out, and you like you actually like strategize your skips. Like for me, like I had a class that was from like 6 to 8:30 or 6 to 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday nights, and Barcelona games start at like 7 p.m. on Wednesday nights. So I use both my skips to go to soccer games throughout the semester, and I actually use a third one for the third game, but it was just like you had to plan it out, and if you didn't really know that, like Allison made the mistake, you just skip. Some people just didn't go to school the first week and totally screw themselves over.
Yeah, that's rough.
I'm in Europe. It doesn't count.
Yeah, and the schooling was just such a joke.
It was
it's really hard to underestimate how easy it was to go to that school.
It's definitely with kids though that did underestimate it, and they're just like, I'm in Europe, it doesn't count, and they just literally did nothing.
I don't know.
Missed as much school as possible, did as little assignments, and I'm like, dude, you can fail. You will fail. Like,
I don't like, because since we had gone to Michigan and Berkeley, like I hadn't really interacted with people who had gone to schools that are like less academically inclined.
Yeah, it was interesting,
and it was really interesting because you're like doing group projects with people who like just don't really seem like a college level student. Yeah. And you're just like
and probably don't really care. They're just there to have fun.
And no, they don't care. No. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. I think there was like a quiz going on we had taken class. Like easy, it was like an art class, took a quiz, and the girl next to me was like, oh my god, what'd you get? Like I totally failed. And I was like, I got 100%, but I'm not gonna say that and be that jerk.
You're like, oh, that was so hard.
Dude, it was so tough. Like I missed so many. But it was interesting. But I loved the classes. My art class, we would go on tours all around Barcelona. It's like a bunch of different art museums. Was it the Picasso Museum that was there?
Yeah, Picasso Museum. There's a lot of really cool ones.
Yeah, so it was really cool.
Maybe we could... My standout class that I took was like a journalism class that I thought was really cool. I've already mentioned this guy in episode 1 because he's the main reason I wanted to start a podcast in the first place. His name is Pep, by the way. I looked it up. I don't know his last name, but he's super...
We're inching closer to
knowing who this guy is.
Next episode, the last name.
This is our moonshot guest that I want to have one day, but because he's like runs a bunch of radio stations, he consults for Barcelona for Messi and Luis Suarez with their social media, and basically what I had to do is I had to like basically have a blog when I was there, and I called it Balling on a
My
Budget.
Lucky Penny.
No,
your lucky
not
penny.
Your lucky penny. You can't burn her 2 weeks in a row about that, bro.
Did you burn her last week?
I burned it last week. Did you watch?
Oh,
I watched parts of it.
Someone didn't watch.
See, I'm leaving Easter eggs for people to see if they're watching, and they're not texting you
right.
your text.
If we didn't get a text from Penny, so she obviously didn't watch last week.
For sure. We were busy. We're in Chicago.
Oh,
right.
Pep.
Right. So I basically had to make a blog post a week, and it was like the easiest thing ever, but it was so cool. And I can go back to that website and like You know, like one of my roommates actually journaled every night, and I thought it was so dumb. I would like make fun of him for it, but fuck, man, I wish I did that. You know what I mean? Like in retrospect, Bodie, dude, you're so fucking smart. Goddamn.
I just remember it's like so hard thinking back when you asked me to be on the podcast and think about Barcelona memories. I'm like, oh my god, I don't remember half of it. And things would pop in my mind.
You just remember that it was like the best time ever.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wait, what was my favorite story?
Because you got so many good things to choose from.
Right. So true.
That even memories that would be like epic in a normal school year are like very middle tier memory for that semester.
Right.
You know.
Very true.
So maybe, and we can put it in terms of this framework. So, someone is wanting to go abroad. Probably not. Let's just call it to Europe in general, or wherever they want to go. What would you consider like some things that you wish you had known beforehand, or things that you would have possibly done differently to make your experience a little better?
One, if you're going like to Dublin for St. Patrick's Day or any main hot spot during a certain time, book those flights early. All the other flights are cheap.
Book flights early.
Book flights early for those like popular weekends because they'll get expensive.
That one specifically you have to book. That's the one I booked that one over Christmas time.
Yeah.
And it was still my most expensive.
That's where studying abroad in Glasgow is awesome because I did a like
whipped a train.
No, dude, I literally flew there. I booked my flight 2 days beforehand. It was like $50.
Oh, you're kidding.
Because it's Scotland, Ireland. It's like easy peasy. But you can't take a train because it's like water. Flight was 30 minutes, and I pulled a... Literally, we didn't have a place to stay.
Yeah,
I met up with Will.
He squatted where I paid a lot of money to stay.
Oh, okay. It wasn't like that. Okay, I was literally ready to stay up all night because it was St. Patty's Day. Like I was like, I don't need to go to sleep.
Stay on the streets or what?
No, just like go out and like next thing I knew. I mean, it's easy enough. Like I feel like especially in European countries to go out and the next thing you know it was morning.
Yeah.
And then I just had to.
That would happen more often than you think.
Yeah.
Like the sun comes up, you're like, ugh, I need to get
and then
rest.
next thing you know, you're like, oh, okay, I'm leaving in a couple hours, you know? So I did a 1-day trip just for St. Patrick's Day, and it cost me $50, and it was the most fun.
Yeah, en contraire, St. Patrick's Day is definitely the most expensive weekend of an abroad experience for anybody else. So lucky dog, Finn.
Well, lucky duck.
Well, he didn't pay the $200 a night to stay there.
Seems like you owe him
$200 a night. I literally slept.
That's an absolute lie.
I slept face down on a hardwood floor for like an hour and a half. So I'm not paying $200. Sorry, bub.
Oh, gosh.
So book flights early.
I'm trying to think of some other tips. I would say you get caught up in planning trips every weekend where sometimes I would like not be able, like I'd forget to explore Barcelona or forget to explore other parts of Spain. Like I never went to Sevilla and I really wanted to go to Sevilla. I didn't go to Portugal and it was really super close to Spain.
Portugal is like surprisingly really hard to get to from Barcelona because they're like kind of the opposite sides of Spain to get there, and I just found it so like ridiculously expensive for how close it was as compared to flying to pretty much any other popular like European destination.
Yeah, no, that's true, but I heard great things. So
that's a phenomenal piece of advice, is like make sure you get comfy where you are. Like I think give yourself at least 3 weeks, you know what I mean, of like being there, meeting people too. Because you don't know how many trips you're going to end up wanting to go on with. So for me, I knew some people out there already, and I was like, I was hitting up Will, and I was like, I definitely want to do trips with him, and some, like, our buddy Drew, and some other guys that are out there. But I'm really grateful I didn't plan too many stuff, because there's people that I ended up meeting on my abroad trips that I was like, also wanted to do trips with. And had I just planned them all really immediately, I would have missed out.
That is such a key piece of information, because I think people who basically, like, you would see crowds of people that would only travel amongst themselves, and you'd see pockets of people from like Penn State or Syracuse or Indiana or even some Michigan groups that would only go travel like amongst each other, and it didn't seem like they really like met any like or like became really close friends with a lot of other people. And I know specifically for me, I can kind of touch on the reason why that was the case for me. So a very close friend of ours from high school and I had planned for a while to go to Spain together, and for whatever reason he couldn't figure out his credits. Like he also went to Alabama kind of screwed him over last minute, and he wasn't allowed to go. So with like 3 weeks left, I basically had to scrap all of my plans. I was actually thinking about possibly living with Allison at one point.
Could you imagine? That would have been a shit show.
Yeah.
I was living with like 3 U of A girls. Will would have hated his life. Like my friends, like I love them, but like you would have been like
we were trying
girls.
to finagle some like mixed gender like dorm for some reason. That probably wouldn't have worked.
It all worked out for a reason.
Yeah. So long story short, I basically have to go random place, random roommates, and the thing that's weird is I tried to like do a little like social media stalking, and all of my roommates' names are not what they go by. So like I couldn't vet any of my roommates before I got there, so I was going in completely blind. And luckily, shout out to all my 4 roommates. They're both all fantastic. And essentially, what the moral of the story is, I would leave at least like 50% of your schedule open, because the people that you meet, you're gonna want to travel with. Like maybe even more than the people that you had planning on travel with before. So I would say meeting a new crew, and just like being willing to like have a little bit of uncertainty about it. That's kind of what we're about on the podcast. Just trying to get some growth and being able to meet new people. I think was a giant takeaway for me for sure.
I remember you guys got so close you'd have like family dinners.
That was something that so shout out to Cal. Cal's mom this is a great idea for any moms potentially watching this. If your kid is going abroad and they're going to a cool country like Spain, she bought him a Spanish cookbook, which was a super cool idea.
That's
right?
Brilliant.
So it's got a bunch of local recipes on it, and we're foodies too, but we didn't have the kind of bread to be going out to nice places the way Allison was. And maybe Allison.
Broke now.
I was gonna say maybe Allison could talk about having to cut her credit card in half,
Yeah.
like halfway through the trip.
My parents cut
her
that
mom,
thing now.
her mom made her send a Snapchat to her of her cutting her family credit card in half.
I just get so caught up in like this meal is worth it.
It's worth it. I'll take the disinheritance.
Yes.
Come on, like,
by the way, you gotta be fiscally responsible. You gotta stay in your lane. There's a bunch of people.
Save a lot more money than
stay
you
in your
think.
lane.
Yeah,
Oh
there's
God.
a lot of people that are way richer than you that are spending money at a rapid rate.
It's tough, and you're like, how? So
the way that my friends and I would mitigate that problem is we would like at least once a week we would pick a new recipe in that cookbook, go to the store, make it, and then invite a bunch of friends that we had met in our building, Allison and her new roommates. And that's how we kind of nurtured a fun friend group to hang out with. And then obviously afterwards you can go out clubbing afterwards and go out to bars. But that was just like a really fun tradition that we started that hopefully we'll get to continue once Finn and I move down to Venice Beach, whenever that happens.
Ooh,
absolutely.
I can't wait to be invited to those dinners.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. We can chef up a little bit.
Yeah.
Will's under plan.
Finn can talk about... Finn actually made
chef in the kitchen.
some enchiladas last week at Hunter's house that were so freaking good. We literally made him make it again the next night.
Yeah, they're good. Chicken enchiladas. They're one of my specialties.
Chicken enchiladas.
I got a Santa Maria barbecue tri-tip I'm also pretty good with.
Ooh.
A couple other Johns. We gotta leave something up for you guys. You guys will figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. So next on the advice, I was just thinking about it while you're saying it. I would say this is kind of a two-sided coin for me. One, do trips with people that you're not like in the same location with.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a trip with a couple of trips with Will actually.
Mm-hmm.
Trips with Drew. I did a trip with or not even a trip. I just kind of ran into her, but like intentionally. A girl from Alabama, Ashley. It was just awesome, and it was really cool because I got to see. They went on trips with like so. For example, Will and I went to Prague.
Unbelievable trip. That was like our first trip of the whole time.
Yeah, first trip of the whole like thing, and he was with all of his Barcelona guys, and it was just so much fun. Like I hit it off with all of them.
Yeah,
they were all the nicest, coolest guys ever, and like I don't know, that really made my European experience, like that kind of made it. Like just getting to like meet those guys, and then next time I went to Barcelona, I got to run into them again. Like
in terms of
really cool.
In terms of when you're talking about like actually pulling the trigger on going abroad, and the cool part about it is everybody who's there ultimately made that decision and like made that leap of faith to leave their school for a semester. When everybody has like things that they're leaving behind, right? Like you have an experience in something comfortable that you are used to, but you're willing to do away with that for something potentially better, and it obviously was in retrospect, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was something that was cool, is that everybody there automatically is kind of like adventurous and willing to try.
And very welcoming too, because they understand. especially the group you were with, you know, which was they were putting themselves out there to meet new people, to have new experiences.
And everybody was
and
was
as
in
a
a random
result
situation.
are very welcoming. You know what I mean? Those guys were like automatically nice. You know what I mean? It was just like off the bat, meet them, have a great time.
Right.
So the other piece of advice, and this might be a little more controversial, I don't know if you guys will agree with it.
Okay.
Do some solo traveling. I did solo traveling,
Yeah.
and I really liked it. I'm catching some looks from Allison, like, no, hell no.
I get so lonely being alone.
Finn,
I know it's bad.
Finn, talk about the structure of your program, because it was super unique, and it allowed you to do what that solo traveling you were talking about. Talk about like how you had that giant...
So they went to like a third-party school. I went to the University of Glasgow, and it was way more uniform. It was like, you go to class every day, like, it wasn't like debatable. It was all very lecture halls. It was like you had some old tenured professor that was there to do research.
How did you get away with learning via the Scottish accent? Was it hard?
Oh my god!
Because they talk thick.
They talk really thick. For anyone listening, r/Scottish people Twitter is an incredible subreddit, and you will understand why it's impossible to understand these people. Not only do they talk with an accent, but they have these slang that is like impossible to understand. Like, girls are called birds.
Yeah, that's like a British thing. That's
Dude, it's weird though. Like, it takes a second, and like curly would be like kiddly, and like purple would be pitiful. Like alarm or alarm would be alarm. So it'd be like piddly, pipital, alarm.
You've got it down.
And it'd just be like, and they've got all these sayings like, I'm at a bar and I'm talking to this guy and he's a bartender and we're like totally hitting off, we're having the best time. You know, he's like, we're like, I've been there all night, and all of a sudden I say something, you know, that's a joke. And I'm like, I'm standing up at the bar, and I say something as a joke. We've been joking all night. And he goes, are you taking a piss on me, mate? And I'm like...
Taking the piss, yeah.
And I'm like...
That's bad.
Dude, no, it's good. That means, like, are you kidding me? It means, like, you messing with me, man?
Dude.
Yes, it does. Totally.
Okay. This is kind of embarrassing, but...
What?
Via Love Island, taking the piss is bad.
Dude, well, it was totally, like, he was like, no, it means, like,
maybe there's two different connotations depending on
also,
how you say
like...
it.
The English use a bunch of words in a totally different, like...
Okay.
But Love Island's British.
Like, okay, like, for example, like, the C word in America, that can be either a bad thing or a good thing in England. It just really depends on who
And in
they're
Aussie, they
talking
just
about.
let it fly.
Yeah. But either way, he goes, are you taking a piss on me, mate? And this is a bar, and I'm like, no, dude, I'm not, like, pissing in your bar. Like, you know, I was like, no, dude, like...
You want to talk about weird slang? My cousin's been living in Australia.
I was not ready for that.
My cousin's been living in Australia for 4 years now, and his favorite term that is Aussie is, he said this one guy, like, similar to you, he's just having a conversation with a random guy in a bar, and he's like, you don't have to have a long neck to be a goose, mate, is what you don't have to have a long neck to be a goose, mate. It's just like, I don't even know. It's just like,
well, that's what I'm like. Are you
Dre, you gotta let us know what that actually means.
Yeah, so you taking a piss on me, mate, was very much a similar thing, because I put it in the context of an American bar, and that is a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, this bartender is probably gonna kick you out of the bar.
Or like,
and I'm like, all in my head, I'm just like, how did this take such a left turn? Like, you know what I mean? He's like, no, like, it means,
also,
are you messing with me? I'm like, okay.
Right. Maybe you can talk about this, Allison. Like, the one thing that I would strongly urge people who are in Europe, and like some girls that I know were just so not about it, like, Americans gotta stop being so ignorant when they're traveling. So like, this one girl, like, I literally witnessed her like walk up to a lady when we were in Florence, and like just walks up and goes, I speak English. And she's like, okay. Like, she's like, I speak English too, but she's like,
oh my god, that is so embarrassing.
I speak English. Can you talk to me? And it's just like, oh, dude.
Yeah. Okay,
like,
you want to know what,
cringe
though?
inside, dude.
Going
like,
abroad did make me think, I get why other nations hate us.
I
get why other nations are like, well, no, America is awesome. Americans abroad are so embarrassing. Like,
so
embarrassing.
You stick out like a sore thumb. So it's just like...
It's like a little bit hard to get used to the culture, but there are some people I've met, like some girls in our program that I didn't know that well, but some of the things they would say, I'd be like, oh my god, like, why are you talking right now?
Like, you got to realize you're in a foreign country. You kind of have to bend. You kind of have to bend the knee to their culture. You know what I mean?
So like one thing that I was embarrassed about after leaving was like, I know enough Spanish to get by in Barcelona, basically.
Yeah.
Not well, you know what I mean? With them being patient with me.
Right.
Yeah.
And you go everywhere. I went to Morocco and they spoke English.
Right.
It's like everyone knows a second language except Americans.
Dude, I also
and
feel
to that
bad.
degree, like, I always made a point to at least say hello, goodbye, and thank you in their language.
Right.
To at least show the attempt of like,
Right.
I'm trying to not just come here and beat the worst American ever. You know?
My dad got me this book of like dirty words in all European languages, and he like expected me to like read it and be able to like talk shit to people, but I was like, hey.
Okay, well that's a terrible idea.
No, but it's also like a gag gift that I thought was kind of funny over Christmas,
funny.
like as I was going to Spain. But I actually got to cheat a little bit because the only guy from Michigan that went to Barcelona that I was good friends with. His name was Augustine. Shout out to Augustine. Wow. Great dude. But he's Argentinian and obviously speaks fluent Spanish. And I won't get into any details, but the noise ordinance rules are very, very strict in Spain. Like after 10 p.m., like you have to have shit silent. And we actually had an abuela that was our next door neighbor. Like she was like 80 years old, and we tried to be as respectful as possible, but she would call the cops on us all the time. And so the cops
apparently they weren't.
And every time the cops come, they're supposed to issue you like a very fat fine, like a fine that would be like about around 50 euros a person for the residents. And Augustine would go up there, and they would always ask to see his passport, right? And we were so amazed at how Augustine was so good at talking the cops away, right? Yeah. And this is hilarious now that we have this jersey here.
He's like Ricky from Trailer Park Boys.
He's Argentinian, right? Why would anybody in Barcelona love an Argentinian?
Because they speak good Spanish and they're at least not American.
Lionel Messi, bro.
Really?
Lionel Messi. They're like, oh, you gave us Messi? You're good. Like that. Literally, that. Like they see the Argentine passport, their eyes light up. Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Like,
that's awesome.
Never got a fine once. Shout out to Augustine,
word,
bro.
Gus. Good work,
Augustine,
dude.
Honestly, like I was able to go on a bunch of extra trips because he shoot the cops away from our apartment. Yeah.
So dude, I never answered the structure of my program.
Right. Talk about that.
So it's different. So we basically had a 3-week spring break, 3-week long spring break. 3 weeks? Yeah, it was 3 weeks. I think it was
like. So basically, you took your classes, and then you had like a 3-week break, and then you had to come back.
Month. Okay, I had a 3-week spring break, and then I had to come back to Glasgow, where finals was like a month long.
Jeez.
But you could basically cheat the system. If your finals weren't until later, your spring break then turned into like a month and a half.
Wow.
Right.
So I went through 13 countries on a train, and a couple planes, but mainly trains. Just like during my 3 weeks, just because I could do it.
Right.
It was awesome.
All by yourself?
And that's when...
not all by myself. Like, I mean, the train travel was by myself, but I met people all along the way.
Okay, that's cool.
But I was intentional. I wanted to do some parts by myself, just because I wanted to see what it was like traveling on my own.
Yeah.
Right.
Because one, it's like, you get to move more freely, but the other thing is like, you get to digest everything through your own lenses. You know what I mean? It's not like the group's opinion.
You're right.
Or it's not like what...
Because it's definitely groupthink in terms of like traveling somewhere for a weekend. You realistically have Saturday to do shit, and that's pretty much
also like when you do trips with people, it's did we have fun? You know what I mean?
And if someone else is in a bad mood, it affects your trip.
Someone else is having a bad time.
Yeah, that probably affected your trips more than mine.
Yeah. But it was
emotional times.
Yeah, and also like you got to like another thing with the group, you're always moving. Well, by myself, I just sat on the beach in Portofino, and I was like, holy crap. This is incredible.
Right.
I'm turning around and it's like something I saw in like Ocean's 11 when I was a kid. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. You know what I mean?
So badass. Dude.
And you just kind of get to soak things up. So I don't know. That being said, like alone traveling, eventually you're like, dude, I want people. I need people again.
Right.
But I try to only do like 3 days by myself at max.
I feel like that's good.
The traveling on your own, I think, is good. In terms of maybe just resetting. Yeah. But I feel like that's all what the whole trip was a huge reset. Like for me, a big piece of advice I would put forward, and this is actually like a completely inadvertent, but I didn't realize the way that like our phone family plan works. Like I did no research about how phone carriers work, and basically found out like a day before I was going to Spain that my phone was locked. So I couldn't get any European cell carrier when I was there. So I was basically what I like to call a Wi-Fi nomad. And me and my couple other friends, Max and Pat, we were just like a crew of Wi-Fi nomads. So we like the only time we ever had access to our phone was if we were ever.
How did you go? Like, how did you find?
So that's the cool part is we literally got to navigate it. Like we had to learn Spanish and we got to navigate like we knew this. I feel like we got to know the city a lot better than some of the other people that we were around because we never used directions to get anywhere. We were always just asking the locals where things were, trying to like, you know, practice our Spanish, even though they always know English better than you know Spanish. So it's always like a struggle to try and get them to talk Spanish to you.
Speak Spanish instead of just hurry up.
But,
English, here you go.
In terms of like stepping away from social media and just being like phone dependent for 5 months, that was such a great cleanse for me personally, and I know they feel the exact same way. Just being able to step away and just honestly like just take it all in and take in the experience in like without any distractions, which was really cool.
Yeah, no, it's definitely unique. And a funny story about phones and cell carriers, so my phone was unlocked, so we get SIM cards, but every month we'd have to go to basically the AT&T of Barcelona.
What was it called?
There's one that's Vodafone.
Or there's like Orange
or something. So we go to Vodafone in the mall, like next to our apartment, once a month. And one of my friends and roommates got like the fattest crush on the Vodafone guy that worked there, and we'd go there every month, and they'd be flirting, and it'd be like the funniest thing. They got each other's Instagrams, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my god, this is hilarious. And so one night I'm out at Input. I don't know if you ever went to Input, and so it's like one of the big clubs that more locals go to, and there's like a DJ there, and I get a pat on my shoulder, and some random guy is like, do you remember me?
Whoa.
And I'm like,
no.
And then it hit me. I'm like, it's Vodafone guy. And I'm like, where's Ashley? She had left earlier, and we like took a picture.
Vodafone guy.
Yeah, it ended up he had a girlfriend. I was like, oh my gosh, like she's in love with you. And he goes, I have a girlfriend. I go, oh, not like no, she.
But like as a friend.
Yeah, not really though.
Chill Vodafone guy. You're not that cool Vodafone guy.
It's also, you know what? Another like tip I'm just thought of is, like, make friends with the people that work. We like joined a gym that was like a cheap like 20 euros a month gym, and the guy that worked at the gym would always like, we became friends with him. He'd give us like workout tips. The same thing with Vodafone guy, where you kind of, and the same things with the guys that like worked in the supermercat, which is like a mini like pharmacy grocery store below our apartment. You become like friends with all these locals where you feel, I don't know, you feel like you live there and you're not just a tourist.
The cool part about it is you live there just long enough to convince yourself that you actually live there and like had a somewhat of a, you know, local experience. Even though I would say the whole party scene, the way it's operated is so stupid, and honestly I feel in retrospect like you kind of succumb to it because that's what all the other students that you're hanging out with are doing. But there's literally a promotion company that like tells you which club to go to every night, and just like, you know, sheep, you flock to the club that it tells you every night to go to. And we actually went to we basically bailed on that like for the last 2 weeks because we're like, reality hits you that time is coming down, you know, the last 2 weeks, and you're like, dude, we have to check off all the boxes that we haven't done so far. Like you suddenly realize like how lazy you've been. You're just like, wow, like I need to get the most out of this. And part of that was like, dude, we've been going to the same like clubs, like the same 3 clubs the whole time. Let's go try some different ones. And of course those were the best ones, like the ones we went to at the last day too. So it's just like,
see, my experience was very different like that. So like I lived in a dorm room with all other students that just went to school there, that were from Scotland and like South Africa and like that kind of deal. So like it was way more like a bunch of the friends we met were like these kids from like South Africa, Germany, and they're just like students there, and they just went to school there. The other thing that was a big difference is it was way more of a pub scene. So like you had kids that went to clubs, but the clubs were not that good.
Right.
Like we had definitely been. It was nothing like the Barcelona clubs, where it was like actually like a scene. It was really cool. Like the one big club there was like the garage, the garage.
They call it the garage.
The garage. But like it was really cool. So like we just all like had like favorite pubs you go to.
In terms of Scotland, I wanted to ask you, like, because the stereotype of Scotland for anybody who's never been there is like, all right, these people wear kilts, they herd sheep, they play golf, like, you know.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
They don't wear kilts all the time.
No, I'm just saying, like, you mentioned kilts earlier.
Kilts are formal attire, so like a lawyer would wear a kilt to go to court.
That's interesting.
It's like a suit.
That's cool.
So like they would wear.
I feel like it's more comfortable.
They would wear a suit,
airy.
Yeah, a little more breezy.
But I guess
they'd wear a suit and then a kilt. the golf courses are awesome. I played a golf course up in called Glen Eagles. That was awesome.
My whole point of asking you that is like when you got there, what were some of the things that surprised you about Scotland, especially Glasgow, because you kind of described Glasgow as like kind of like a more hipster vibe.
Yeah, that's one thing that really surprised me. So Glasgow, there's two big cities in Scotland, Glasgow and Edinburgh. And Edinburgh is a lot more posh. It's a lot more royal. They speak very refined Scottish. You can understand them very well.
Okay.
It's a lot more like it's like where the money is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's where like the English power has been historically. And then Glasgow has been a lot more like rough and tumble. It's where the powers of industry were. So it's like far more industrial. They built ships and stuff like that. All the Scottish comedians, like the funny ones, have come out of Scotland or have come out of Glasgow. It's a lot more, rough and tumble, like, lots of drinking, lots of fighting, like.
Right.
No, they're tough dudes, for real. Like, they are tough dudes. So.
Do you get kind of a Peaky Blinders vibe, or no?
Not much anymore. Now it's more like, I think they call them Spice Boys, where it's like the kids in like the matching like sweatsuits. You know what I mean?
Oh no,
that's
like
horrible.
full Puma jumpsuits or something.
Yeah, full Puma jumpsuits, like.
Oh god.
Like
That
Peaky
is-
Blinders haircut. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like super tight crew cut haircut.
Yeah.
So
Is that a thing? That haircut? You
yes,
see it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
You see it everywhere. Everyone's got the tight. Like,
That's the thing.
bangs
Every
haircut
kid,
kinda.
every kid from the age 10 to probably 17 in Europe has the Cristiano Ronaldo, where it's just like shave,
Mhm.
and then like long flowy hair.
High key,
Kinda like
European
what I
fashion.
got.
European fashion's bizarre.
But
Oh,
So
that's just my take. But I do have to say, like, Glasgow is really, really cool. I thought it was much more interesting than Edinburgh because it had this really young, hip influence into it.
Mhm.
Where it was like, they had some like really cool arts districts, like really neat food. Like, one of my favorite
What's the
places was
food
this.
like in
Right.
Scotland?
tell them about the
Scottish
curry.
food.
Tell them about the curry part.
So
curry?
Scottish food is not good, but they are obsessed with Indian food.
Okay.
Right.
Like Scottish food is just meat pies and bangers and mash and like
Shepherd's pie.
blood pudding.
Oh no! Did
What's
you
that?
eat it?
Blood pudding is a sausage made of blood.
Oh, that's
Hey,
disgusting.
it's not as bad as you think.
Okay.
Oh, God.
You gotta try it. Haggis,
Oh
Which is
no.
just- sheep's intestines, like, or it's like sheep like kidney or something shoved with like a bunch of other sheep.
Is that the only
Organs.
local animal? So like all their food is like somewhat sheep based. Or am I just totally
Based.
generalizing?
You're
South
just
America?
like literally like
A
super
sheep-based
stereotyping
diet.
them.
Shit.
They got like tons of cows. Like there's this thing
Oh, they got
called
cows.
Highland. What do you think we eat, bro? What do you think Texas makes? Cows.
Well, dude, we got cows here, but like I only seen the sheep out there. I don't know.
You've never seen a Scottish sheep in your life. Alright, get out of here. So either way, the Scottish food is not exceptional, but they love Indian food. I think it's their national dish is actually curry. And it
Wow.
is incredible. We went to this place, Mother India was this restaurant that was actually like a kind of a fine dining place,
Uh-huh.
and it was unbelievable. Butter chicken, tikka masala, saag paneer,
Ooh.
Chicken tikka masala.
coconut naan.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god,
So-
it was so freaking good, dude. It was got
That sounds
the other thing,
amazing.
but like the hipster influence kind of came in was like this place called Kimchi Cult,
Hmm.
and it was like a Korean American fusion place.
Mm.
So for
Interesting.
example, like they had like Korean fried chicken sandwiches.
Oh,
So
that
it was,
sounds good.
It was like fried chicken sandwiches, but not like Nashville hot. It was like that more like sweet hot. You know what I mean? That kind of sauce. Oh, it was so good.
Like umami.
Mm.
Yeah, like umami. They just had like very creative restaurants that, and the seafood's excellent as well. So, shout out Glasgow. It definitely impressed me with its like young things to do there.
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
Yeah, actively getting hungry. Do we want to tie a bow on the abroad thing and move on, or is there anything else?
Real quick, what are the coolest places you guys went to?
Coolest
And
places.
additionally, what are the places you want to go visit?
Okay.
Oh my god.
So actually, this is funny because Finn and I actually have a fantasy of moving here for like a year or two,
So true.
Oh.
and it's still on the table as of now.
You didn't have to use the word fantasy, but
Yeah.
me and Will moving together.
Okay, that was a weird
Sexual
way of putting
fantasy.
it. Weird way of putting it, but we had both like imagined it'd be really cool to live in
Have a
Amsterdam.
dream.
Right.
Ooh.
So Amsterdam was definitely my favorite city we went to. It was because I had been to Europe before. There were a lot of trips that were kind of doubles for me. So like Amsterdam was the first place that I wanted to go that I hadn't been before. Absolutely loved it. Their museums were the coolest by far. We went on a canal tour on this boat. And honestly, one thing I would say in terms of the best way to see a city is you go to basically any sort of like cafe or like wherever you have breakfast the first morning you're there. The person serving you is a local, and you just ask them their favorite places to go, and boom, you automatically, like, that shit won't be on TripAdvisor, like, it won't be on the abroad Bibles you get sent. And I got recommended when we went to Amsterdam, the first morning we got there, we were at this counter, and this lady's like, you gotta go to this brewery, it's outside of town, it's locals only, but you'll see it when you know. You just follow the river, and it's at this windmill, and you'll, like, it's impossible to miss.
Do you remember what it's called?
I can't pronounce it, it's like
Brouwerijt.
Shit, man. All right. He remembered because I went first, and then I recommended Finn go there. And I shit you not, the best beer you will ever taste in your entire life.
Incredible.
And obviously fantastic food. But you just gotta ask the locals for the recommendations. Like, it's just the coolest way to see a city, and they won't steer you wrong. Like, if anybody asks you like what they should do in LA, you're not gonna say
the Hollywood Walk of Stars.
Cafe.
Go to the Walk of go to the Walk of Fame. Go to Disneyland. Go to the Santa Monica Pier. Fuck no. No, you're not gonna say any of those.
On a side note, Earth Cafe sucks.
Actually,
on contrary, I disagree.
No, dude.
Overpriced.
It used to be so good when we were kids. It's not that good anymore.
Jones on Third is way better.
Jones on Third is awesome. Also, killer fried chicken sandwich there.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, so definitely ask locals. Definitely ask locals what you want to do, and then definitely so that was the first trip we went on, and then probably a tie for my favorite trip, and every one of my Barcelona crew would agree. We went to Mallorca. So Mallorca is essentially the Catalina island of Spain. So it's like just, I don't even know how far away it is, but it was literally like a €20 round trip flight from Barcelona to Mallorca. And like we rented an Airbnb house out
in Barcelona. You're like,
yeah. Oh my god. So I bought a flight on Thursday. Finn was supposed to stay with me Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I bailed on him for a day, which is really mean. But luckily,
it was actually very funny. It was totally funny. I was tired.
Luckily, he had made friends enough with some of my friends that all the guys that stayed behind and didn't go on the Mallorca trip, had a good night with him. But we went out there and we rented a van. And literally just went beach hopping around the whole island the whole weekend. We had 3 of my Michigan friends, Molly, Anjali, and Sarah came to our house for one of the days, and it was just absolutely the best trip. And we were just like, we went and found this like sunset lookout, like right on the edge at this like tiki bar. It was just like absolutely the coolest trip.
Show's there now.
Wow, that sounds great.
Like, and like in retrospect, like anybody who goes to Barcelona should spend a couple days on Mallorca because it's like absolutely stunning how nice this island is.
Awesome. So next place you want to go?
Ooh, let's circle back. Circle back. I need to think about
we'll circle back too.
It's hard to think of one like my favorite, honestly, because every trip was so unique and different.
Right.
I feel like one of Amsterdam up there at the tops.
I loved Amsterdam.
Yeah, it's just like such a cool, unique city, and I love the canals and everything. I always love Ireland, but Dublin is just a huge party, so you don't really get to experience it as much. I think the most unique place that we went to Stockholm, Sweden, and we were treated like queens.
Nice.
My friends, because
well, some famous
one of my good friends from Berkeley, her mom is a famous actress and model in Sweden. And
well, that's freaking cool.
So that's
awesome.
And I've dropped my phone in her pool twice.
Not the best time, but so we went to Stockholm. She wasn't there, but she had everything set up for us. She knew all these nice restaurants. The people working there, our meals were paid for.
Incredible.
It was insane.
She spoke the language, obviously.
Yeah, my friend, she spoke Swedish, so we got in everywhere.
How cool is that?
They had the most interesting thing ever was their alcohol policy. They all of their liquors, or there's only one liquor store, like one chain that sells alcohol in Sweden.
So it's like controlled?
Yes, it's very controlled, and it closes Friday at 7 p.m. and it's not open for the weekend.
What?
Yes. And I guess
so is that encouraging you to like buy alcohol at bars, or how's that work?
Either encouraging you to buy alcohol at bars or not be as crazy in the streets. I'm thinking
it gets dark and cold up there. I'm sure they're just like
hunkered down.
Don't drink that much.
Yeah.
Or they just stock up. But
true.
we had maybe lunch or dinner or something. We were walking around and we're like, oh my god, it's almost 7. It's Friday. We didn't know if there's any alcohol in the apartment we were staying at. So we're like running around to the nearest liquor store. And we went in and some crazy thing happened where they're like asking for our IDs and some of us didn't have it, so they wouldn't sell to us. So half of us would go back up and then half of us would go back down and try to purchase the same thing. Like, dude, we just saw you in here 5 seconds ago, like, leave. So like, okay. And we mapped like the next closest one and it was like a 20-minute walk, and we had like 15 minutes
to get there.
So we split up, and we are sprinting the streets of Sweden. We find alcohol.
Trying to find some booze.
Yeah,
it's probably so cold.
Yeah, and we're like, oh my god. We get back, we have alcohol, we drink it, and my friend, she's like, we got a table at this exclusive club. I don't know if there's gonna be alcohol there, so we need to drink as much as we can. So we're like, okay, like we can't be sober at this.
Sign me up.
Pre-game accordingly.
Yes. Yeah. So we get there. And there is the bottle lady is like, this is bottomless alcohol, so just let us know when you're out. All mixed drinks, all champagne.
Infinity
booze? And we're like,
booze.
We couldn't even finish like one champagne. We're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad. You're actually making me feel for you that you didn't get to take advantage of that club.
I know, but it was fun, and like I love Swedish meatballs, so just like having traditional, real Swedish meatballs.
Real talk, did IKEA give you a love for Swedish meatballs like me? Because
dude,
IKEA,
I have a hilarious meatball.
I love IKEA Swedish meatballs. I don't care if they're made out of horse.
I don't care. They were delicious. They were so good.
I actually got kicked out of an IKEA when I was like 10 years old because I overate the meatballs that they were just serving as, what are they like giveaways? Yeah. No, like they'd have like serving samples. I would literally circle back like 50 times.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, my mom loves that story.
You got booted out of an IKEA?
Literally, we got kicked out of IKEA because I was just
you're just housing their meatballs?
Yes.
Hey kid, get lost.
Yeah.
No, this is a different
Put on different chapters.
Yeah, I just started like, I don't even know how I tried to get away with it when I was 10, but I was scheming in my own mind.
Wow, that sounds like an incredible Sweden trip.
And just to walk around,
that's a unique city. Like not a lot of people went there.
And my
to have such an insider
my friend lived there since she was 9, so we went to like the local park she grew up in, and we went to her grandma's house, and she made us like Swedish pancakes.
Oh,
that's so
really?
sweet.
Yes,
wow.
more.
Drew raves about the Swedish pancakes.
Oh, so good.
Wow. Yeah, Drew's a huge Swede.
He goes to like some random town in Northern California for a Swedish pancake festival every year.
I'm trying to sign that. For real, I'm trying to sign that. That sounds awesome.
It sounds amazing.
What was your favorite city?
No, where would you go?
Oh, right.
I talked about it earlier, but I think Portugal. I really want to do like a whole Lisbon and Porto. Is that what this is called? Porto. Do all of that. That's one I missed.
Gotta go see those waves.
Lisbon's
too.
sick.
In Nazaré, they have like 80-foot waves. Gotta check that out.
Those are crazy. Okay, that's awesome. Portugal's, that's great. So for me, it'd be tough. I'm gonna do a 3-way trot tie, but I'm not gonna go into it too much. It's gonna be a tie between Morocco, Switzerland, and Amsterdam. Amsterdam, I went to like 3 different times because I loved it so much. It was so cool. Because there's 2 different types of Amsterdam. There's the BS tourist part, which is gross. Like, it's gross, to be honest.
Also, didn't go to the red light district for... I personally never saw it. I was not interested.
It's just gross.
I accidentally walked into the red light district.
It's easy enough to wander into because, like, it is city center, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just like, the people that are there for that, like, I don't know, not my style. Like, the reason I went 4 times is because of how beautiful and quaint the city is. Like, the canal houses. I had one of the girls I was staying with in my group. She was, what's the name? It's like chauffeuring or nannying. It's like
au pair.
Au pairing. Like, she was au pairing this kid during her break. Her cousin that like lives there.
No way.
So they're in the top of this canal house in this really cool like bohemian studio, like where it's like bathroom, bedroom, kitchen all in one.
You got to stay there?
No, I didn't get to. Like, I had my own place that I was in. But like we just kind of like getting to actually be in one of the canal houses with locals.
Yeah.
With like our friends was like such a cool spot. It was like, I mean, it was really cool. And then just like Browrie Die, like just like. Amsterdam's a real, and Vondelpark Park is the most beautiful, quaint park on the planet.
Right.
Morocco was otherworldly. I'd never been anywhere like that, and it was my favorite thing on the planet.
Have you ever been to Africa before?
No, never. And when you get off the plane to Tangier, when you get off the plane out of the taxi in Tangier, you get there, and it is a different mentality than America. People are hustling really hard because life is a lot tougher there.
Mm.
But also, bargaining is such a way of life for their culture.
Mm.
It's really important. And it's very easy to feel attacked at first. I was with a couple of other people that, when you say no, it's not convincing to them.
Right.
You know, that means I'm not trying hard enough. And
Right.
they'll kind of accost you. They'll keep going.
They're salespeople. They don't take no for an answer.
They're salespeople. And we're there, and a couple of my friends that I was with were like, we're not leaving the hostel. Like, we're not enjoying ourselves. Like, and I ended up going back out, and I had the best time ever because, like, and I was with these two other girls in my group too, and it, like, they wanted to go out and I wanted to go out, so we all went out. Plus, it was like good to have a guy like with them, just because like that is a different city.
Right.
Like, it is a different like, you know, thing there. And you know, guys would like, we'd walk by and they'd be like, they'd make some comment about the girls. Where in America, I'd be like, and I would get upset. I'd turn around and I'd be like, hey, like, don't say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were like, dude, like, we didn't mean any disrespect. It's just like very different there. Or for example, like, we'd be bargaining and we were all kind of on edge after like getting out there, and like we'd be bargaining and we'd be like, no, I don't want it. And the guy was like, I'm just like, this is just like the way we do things here. Like, he's like, it's okay. Like, you don't need to feel like you have to buy this. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was weird. Like, you kind of just like got to understand them. I realized how American I was, I guess, and how part of being American is you assume every other place is like yours. Yeah. And how ridiculous it is to go to a country in Africa and expect it to be the same. You know what I mean? Or people to act the same. And I don't know, that was kind of like an enlightening thing for me to just like be there. In the, you know, the people were really sweet, and the culture, the food was incredible. The food was so good.
What kind of food did you eat?
I had some shark. That was pretty good.
Shark?
What?
But not like endangered sharks. This is like reef sharks that like live.
It's white meat. I've fished sharks for 2 summers.
The food, so they've got an incredibly diverse ecosystem on their coastline over there. So we had sharks, swordfish, all tagine, which is like they basically slow cook it in this clay pot with a bunch of incredible spices. You walk the streets and everything smells of cumin and chili powder and just like turmeric and saffron. It's intoxicating. It's so good.
Literally, like, it sounds like the Silk Road, like the spices and stuff, like everything that you've always heard about in history books.
Tapestry patterns like this that are real, that are made out of
real tapestry.
mosaics.
Those are the real ones.
Well, they're mosaics and they're made out of stone on the walls and stuff like that.
Right.
And everyone wears these big cloaks everywhere. These
like
robes.
The caftans?
No, they have these robes with big hoods that they wear over their head because it's so hot, and they just like kind of like try to like duck out from the heat.
Okay.
It's called a souk. An Soukhe.
Yeah.
Or Soukh.
And
And I'd never been anywhere that different, and I guess it was just like kind of incredible to like get to like at least like feel like I related to these people on some level. You know what I mean? And just like partake in that culture was really cool. And then lastly, just skiing in Switzerland was so sick.
Yeah, I bet.
Swiss Alps.
Zermatt, yeah, Swiss Alps, like right where Switzerland meets Italy.
Right.
Oh.
Right underneath the Matterhorn.
Yeah.
Big Macs are $15, but ski passes are $30. Go figure.
Yeah, seriously.
Go figure, seriously.
Dude, they really slapped globalization in the face by how expensive the fast food is, bro. It's more expensive than going to a regular restaurant.
Yeah. And it's interesting too because the Swiss way is so funny. I was talking to this French woman that I met, and she was like, "It's funny," because she had just moved to Switzerland. She was like, "In France, you try to break every rule. You jaywalk. You know what I mean?
Right.
If someone's not looking, you break the rule as long as it's not harming anybody. You know what I mean? Like, but you jaywalk. In Switzerland, you don't jaywalk because like that's not the rule. There's order to things, and you don't break that. Like it's just like there's such a linear, like more like strict people, but it was really cool. I respected that a lot. So it was just like really fun getting to see how different cultures.
Where would you, since you probably traveled to more like places in terms of volume, like so where would you want to go elsewhere if you had to go back to Europe?
To Europe? I don't think I'm going back to Europe next.
Yeah, because my answer wasn't going to be a European place.
Mine would be too.
If I had to choose Europe, I'd go Greece.
Okay.
But I think I want to go to Argentina or Japan.
That's we actually
Australia. Actually, Australia or Argentina. Yeah, I'd love to do
my cousins do a really cool like motorcycling trip through South America, like over Thanksgiving every year.
Is it through Chile or?
Kind of through Chile. But Finn and I have talked about like hopefully wanting to link up with my friends Augustine and Josie down in Buenos Aires, where they're from. I've always wanted to go to Argentina. That's honestly the other place I was going to want to study if I couldn't go to Barcelona. So I definitely want to do a Argentina trip. That's probably just because I've spent so much time in Europe now. I can't. It's so ridiculous that I get to say that at 22, but I have spent a decent amount of time there. So I would want to venture to South America next before I go back to Europe.
That or Australia?
I was gonna say I would love to go to Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I heard it's like a big California. I don't know if that's true, but that'd be dope.
Yeah, like there's very like Sydney, like Bondi Beach, like there's a giant cohort of Michigan people that went to Barcelona in Europe, and then there's also just as equally a giant cohort of people that went to Sydney, and they all lived on Bondi Beach, and of course their hemispheres are opposite, so they basically got to have 2 summers, and their experience, like they got to go to Bali, they see all those like temples and shit, like their experience was vastly different.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's another experience that is well worth it as well.
Cool.
All right, so
Let's wrap a bow on that one.
We can tie a bow on the study abroad thing, and we want to wrap up by talking about what Allison's up to next. So
we made it through college, and now we're semi-adults.
We're in the adult world.
So what do you have waiting for you, Allison?
Going abroad, Allison kind of. I was wondering, like, did that inspire you to like broaden your horizons in terms of where you wanted to work? Because now you're planning to work for a British-based company, and talk a little about that.
Yeah, I know. After going abroad, I immediately was like, I want to live outside of the U.S. for a little bit longer, or work outside of the U.S. if I have the opportunity to, and I want to travel. For me, I can't sit still. Like, this quarantine has been really rough, even though I have been doing some traveling, safe traveling. But I can't say. I need to keep traveling. I need to keep going to new places.
Yeah.
And that's one amongst many reasons why I want to go into management, or I'm going into management consulting, because it gives you the opportunity.
Travel's a huge part of that job.
Exactly. And I know you can get burnt out, and so I may rethink later when I want to start a family, but for now I want to.
That's many moons from now.
Yeah, hopefully a long time from now.
So talk about like what your plans were pre-COVID and how the situation has changed. Because you were supposed to go live in London for a while.
Yeah. So I accepted a job offer for a company called Elixir in December, or in January, and right before like COVID hit and everything. So I was set. Like, luckily I was one of the ones that had a job lined up in lockdown, unlike so many people, and it didn't fall through with COVID. And actually right now I've been on their team calls, even though I'm starting in September, and their business is booming in the U.S. They've been growing by like 50 or 60%, hiring on so many new analysts and consultants.
That's awesome.
Which is so unusual.
Makes you definitely feel more secure too.
Yeah.
Doing that,
Yeah, and at first I was a little worried. They were like, in the beginning, every company was
like, oh God, I hope. Like,
very small in the U.S. right now. But I was originally supposed to be going to London from September to December, where they're headquartered. Kind of meet a lot of the analysts that work over there, get a little bit of training, and then come back to San Francisco and work in San Francisco or in the U.S. wherever their clients are. So because
how much will you travel?
It would depend. A lot of, since they're so new in the U.S., it's kind of wherever they're getting business. A lot in Dallas, the East Coast, and San Francisco for now. So it would just to be depend, and then also the other opportunity was South Africa. They have a lot of clients in South Africa.
That's
right. South Africa's booming right now.
Yeah, so to be able to go there for 4 to 6 weeks and work on a client, like get to experience that culture too, I was really excited for. Unfortunately, everything is now remote for the time being. So London is pushed off. I'm not even going up to San Francisco for the time being. I'm just going to be staying in LA.
Yeah, are they going to be working remotely? I feel like in the U.S., it seems like the standard right now, unless anything crazy happens vaccine-wise in the near future, like people are staying remote until January.
Exactly.
Is that the situation?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't given me any like exact details and time wise because I just don't think they know. But I like expect to be in LA for the rest of the year.
Sweet.
I saw Google push their back to office date till next June.
Yeah, so one of my friends works at Google. She started in July, and it's like a voluntary. You can stay at home till June 2021.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Probably smart. I mean,
yeah, I know a lot.
Maybe
of
a bit
companies
presumptuous, but probably not. You know.
As long as like companies can operate in a similar manner. I mean, like obviously it's impossible to operate the same way, but if you guys can convert business and turn over and operate remote, that's probably the best way to keep everybody safe. So
yeah. I'm also sure a lot of companies are using this to test out future remote work.
Oh, you know? I mean, I think things are changing. Even like I know some companies are like, okay, you can work remotely permanently now.
Yeah, it kind of like flipped the whole like office idea on its head. Recently is like certain company. I feel like companies are kind of being exposed based off their ability to adapt right now because certain companies are absolutely exploding and other companies are absolutely shitting themselves right now in terms of anything in entertainment or anything based off ticket sales.
We need to get someone on who's a commercial real estate broker in office spaces.
Yeah.
Right.
I bet that's a super interesting like changing.
I bet they're being hammered right now.
Yeah. Well, I bet also like a year from now, like the requirements are going to change because like I could be a big company and maybe I am just going to have most of my people remote work and I'm just going to have office spaces like a good place to show. I don't need that much space. It's going to be a lot smaller meeting rooms, and then I'm going to want it to be a much nicer, polished place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you don't have to pay for that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. All right. So final question here. Finn and I have been thinking about a good way to close our interviews now, since we're getting a couple under our belt. And we were thinking, you don't even know we were going to ask you this, but if you could project like five years from now what you're doing, what would you say?
Okay, 5 years I'll be 27. Oh God.
27.
No, I'm gonna make it 10 years. 5 years is too close.
See, but
5 years.
10 is like.
10 is like have a family and married.
In 10, you're 32.
8.
I have 8 years. Okay, so
pre 27, I would say pre 27 or 28.
30. Where you at 30?
30. Okay, my life plan. I've thought about it.
Okay.
Oh, you thought about it. All right.
Okay, I would like. Career-wise, I definitely still want to have a career when I have a family. By like 28, I'd like to be married. I don't need to have kids immediately.
Yeah,
I'd like to take a
nice little honeymoon period of like enjoying just being married without kids. Yeah.
Kids by 30.
Because it seems like kids happen pretty quick after the marriage thing. So
I know, but I
they're
feel like
rascals. They sneak up on you.
You know.
Oh God. Career-wise, I'd like to be successful. I don't know. Like just to be a manager and coaching other employees and other new.
Are you in LA? Where are you?
Oh, I kind of would like to be in San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah, word. I totally feel that. That's
totally
a great place.
San Diego vibe.
Like I need to be by the water.
It's so cool.
But maybe
a lot more relaxed too.
Exactly.
It's not like
as
I have
big
a theory.
Busy as LA.
I have a theory that the pace of life in terms of California just slows down the further south you go. So San Francisco is so hustling and bustling. You got tech going on up there. You come down, everybody's a little more relaxed down in LA, but still people are still a little on edge. You have Hollywood.
Everyone's dressing up to go out,
right.
and
so
just
like going out is still
my Balenciaga moon shoes.
Going out is still kind of a scene. You go down to where I'm from, Orange County. Like my dad wears t-shirt, flip flops every day, and then you go down a little bit further, and then you got like dudes that are surfing every day, living their best life.
That's the good life.
And the pace of life down there is really smooth.
Allison, I love that answer.
I know, you guys can come visit me.
I flirted with the idea of being a San Diego dude myself.
If you guys want to join,
I've always thought that's a very bold move, but an admirable move.
Yeah.
I've always respected people that want to go to San Diego because that shows me that they're like prioritizing
life,
what they want their life to look like.
Yeah, definitely.
Like being in a big city doesn't really matter as much to just being in a comfortable place.
Because there's probably a couple places in LA where you could pull off that same lifestyle.
Yeah.
But it's so dang expensive. You know what I mean? It's just like
true.
San Diego's pretty expensive too, dude.
I know, but like
I feel like it's
you
more
can
expensive, but yeah.
you can. I feel like being by the beach in LA compared to being by the beach in San Diego, being by the beach in LA is way more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
Right.
Yeah. I think so.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
no, I feel like you're right. Depending on like if you're in La Jolla.
Exactly. Like
I think it's
a little ritzy.
La Jolla is very.
But maybe I'll be in La Jolla with all.
But like Bird Rock, it's a little more like. I feel like casual, more normal.
Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed. Both my parents met in San Diego, but I don't know San Diego as well as I should. If that's like the roots of like where I'm from. But
new plans when Corona's over. We're going to San Diego.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
San Diego trip.
I've been wanting to go on a brewery tour of San Diego so bad.
Let's do it.
My friend Cole, we gotta go to your place in Coronado, dude. If you're watching.
Hopefully I can get the invite.
If we were to be so lucky, me and Allison are very free for the rest of quarantine.
Yeah, for the foreseeable future, we're available to go to San Diego whenever we want. So,
okay, to close this baby up, what's up, Doc?
It is What's Up, Doc time. I have already dropped mine.
Fans' favorite, it's What's Up, Doc time.
In case you forgot, my What's Up, Doc is on YouTube, and anybody can watch it. It's called 20 Years in the Desert. The reason I'm recommending this is specifically because of a Daft Punk show that they talk about that is like literally gets you get goosebumps watching this show because it's basically a show they did in 2007 that basically like they have Steve Aoki, they have Tiesto, they have one other like big name DJ that were all like at that concert, and like literally that concert was like the thing that made EDM a thing, and what we know as popular as it is today, like that was almost the birth of EDM, that specific concert at Coachella that they talk about in detail, which is really cool.
That's cool.
Oh, that's cool. So mine is like a 4-part docu-series called Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. And it's...
Nailed it.
Did I get it right?
Nailed it.
I was like, fat, salt, I don't know.
She was worried if she would get the name right, but that's probably
I almost had to like write it down on my hand. But it's this chef that works at a Michelin star restaurant in Berkeley, and she tours all over the world into different parts, and she says the 4 best ingredients or ways of cooking to make a phenomenal meal or a phenomenal dish are with fat, salt, acid, and heat. So she goes to all different areas that specialize in these types of things. So with fat, she goes to Italy, and it's like olive oil and all of this stuff, and she meets with locals, and you really get like an inside look on this, and it makes you really hungry.
Makes you really hungry. That's a great documentary. So mine is going to be a documentary called American Factory. It's a documentary about this town in Detroit that used to have a big car plant. And then obviously things go south. A lot of car plants go down. Detroit falls in some hard times, and all these people are out of work. So a Chinese automotive glass company decides to, cut transportation costs down, and they end up buying this car factory and employing the people. And it really goes to show the cultural differences in America and China, and also the working conditions. Because at first these people are like so grateful to find work. These people are foreclosing on their homes and stuff like that. I mean, with this plant gone, they can't survive. They come in.
2008 Detroit was not good.
It's brutal. But then this Chinese plant comes in, and these people go from being really grateful to being like, the pay's not good, and like the work conditions are unsafe, and just like, and then meanwhile the managers go back to China to learn some management techniques to manage these people, and it's like the people in China are working like 10 times longer hours, get 1 day off a month,
Right, and obviously way less pay.
Way less pay, and they're like, all the people in America have it so good. And it's a very, very fascinating documentary that kind of touches upon the cultural differences, really how capitalistic China is, and just it's a really good watch. American Factory.
Yeah, it's
made by the Obamas, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Great
It seems like a really interesting,
the goods.
very interesting case study. Yeah, she actually just started. Michelle Obama started a podcast very recently. First episode was with Jordan Peterson. Really good.
Yeah, it's contending with ours right now. I think we're 1-2 right now on iTunes or something like that.
Her views are like half of ours.
Yeah, we're 1-2. I mean, nice try, Michelle.
In all seriousness, though, you should listen. It's like very, very interesting. But like, it seems like a very interesting case study in terms of like manufacturing. Like, everybody's understanding of China's economy is based on like how they have super cheap labor, really bad like sweatshop type conditions, and it seemed like they almost tried to do that in the U.S. I haven't seen this documentary, but
they totally did. And as they started off being like, let's assimilate with America, and then at the end they're like, replace all of these people with Chinese workers, basically, because they're like, the American workers were like, this is BS. Like, it was just so different than the standard they'd gotten used to, that even though they had work, they were like pissed off. Like, people were like getting injuries and stuff like that.
Like, it's not even worth it.
Yeah, it's not even worth it. And if, you know, go back to China, these people are in China moving from their family thousands of miles just to get jobs in China. So they see the America's position open, and they're like, that's the easy one. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy. It's a very good watch. I recommend it highly.
All right. We just wrapped it all up, and thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 4 of Loading with Will and Finn. If you're still on, it'd be really cool if you like or subscribe if you haven't yet, or maybe follow Allison. Check it out.
Link in this invisible thing we're not going to put. Woohoo!
So thank you so much for coming, Allison.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Cheers.
This was fun. Cheers.
Cheers. Boom. Thanks again, guys.